Hello, everyone, and welcome to this update on potentially catastrophic Hurricane Hilary. Here's what we know right now. These are the key messages courtesy of the National Hurricane Center. Their major messages are that heavy rainfall associated with Hilary is going to happen well in advance of the actual center of circulation, or what you see on the cone of uncertainty, hitting you. So flash flooding preparations need to be completed as soon as possible if on the Baja California Peninsula or in the state of California itself around Los Angeles, San Diego, and that extends way to the north and especially to the east as well. So potentially catastrophic flooding possible with this storm. Hurricane conditions are possible or even expected in the hurricane watch and warning areas along the Baja Peninsula. We'll be going into more detail on that soon. Tropical storm watches and warnings in place there along the Baja Peninsula, stretching through the mainland Mexican coastline as well, with the first time ever tropical storm watches being issued for the state of California. So this is a very rare situation. Finally, large swells are going to be generated by Hilary, and those will affect portions of the coast of southwestern Mexico, the Baja California Peninsula, and South California over the next few days. These swells are going to likely cause life-threatening surf and rip current conditions. So let's now jump into how this storm looks. It looks incredible. It is huge, it is relatively symmetric, and it is a bit weaker than it was at peak now, but it is still a powerful Category 4 hurricane, which is what it peaked at. It had winds of 145 miles per hour earlier today. System is currently at 18.7 degrees north, 112.2 degrees west, with winds now of 130 miles per hour and a pressure of 948 millibars. It's moving northwest at 12 miles per hour, and flooding is going to be the most dangerous element of this storm. We're going to be talking about winds a bit, we're going to be talking about the intensity forecast from the Hurricane Center a bit, but the major thing to keep in mind here is that flooding is going to be the biggest threat. So even though this tropical system is going to be weakening, that doesn't mean that the impacts are going to be much lessened at all, if even lessened. It looks like it's going to be pretty catastrophic either way, as again, flooding the biggest threat with this. Let's now jump into sea surface temperatures. This is kind of the fuel for the storm, and we're actually taking a look at a weather model rather than observations here during the current time. And you might be asking, well, why would I do this? Well, sea surface temperatures can't really be updated that easily when a tropical cyclone is residing over the area where sea surface temperatures are affected. So the model might do a better job of indicating where energy has been zapped from the ocean by this hurricane, and you can see that rather clearly here. Some upwelling has occurred. Sea surface temperatures getting below that 26-degree threshold, that yellow line that's required for hurricanes to strengthen in the southeastern side of the storm, and that is likely causing some of these strange fluctuations in intensity. It's also likely part of the reason why this storm has weakened a bit since earlier today. When it comes to wind shear as well as water vapor or moisture for the storm, when it comes to wind shear, the storm is overall in light to moderate wind shear, so that's not too bad at the moment. That will worsen with time, but you can see the dry air that we were talking about yesterday. It has advanced forward for sure and is going to become a more substantial part of Hilary's weakening over the next little while. However, Hilary is going to be bringing unprecedented, frankly historic amounts of moisture to Southern California, hence why we are messaging the flooding so strongly with this thing. So let's now get into the official forecast here. Hilary is expected to cause catastrophic flooding. Again, I'm going to keep driving that home throughout the entirety of this video. You know, we talk about wind speed a lot with hurricanes, the category system that we use for them is on the basis of wind speed. However, this system is large and it has a lot of moisture in it. This thing is going to be dropping lots of rain across Baja California and the state of California. We'll get into more detail on that soon. Hilary could be the first tropical system to make landfall in California since 1939. You'll notice there that this cone of uncertainty does have it being a full-fledged tropical storm still inland of California. So it's really just a matter of semantics on whether it wobbles far enough to the west in order to make a technical landfall in the state of California. Regardless of that, though, the impacts are going to be very similar. This is the first time the National Hurricane Center has ever issued a tropical storm watch for California. You might be asking, well, why didn't that happen in 1939? The National Hurricane Center didn't exist back then. So this is the first time that the National Hurricane Center has dealt with a situation like this one, truly unprecedented. And finally, keep an eye on Hilary if in or around the cone of this thing. as even if you're outside of the cone for this storm, you are going to receive impacts, and you'll notice that warnings spread quite a bit out from there. So let's now talk about what watches and warnings are in effect. We have hurricane warnings in place for Baja California from Punta Abrejos to Cabo San Quintin. We have a hurricane watch in place for Baja California from north of Cabo San Quintin to Ensenada, and I apologize if I'm butchering these. I am not overly fluent in the geography of this area. Tropical storm warnings are in place in Baja California from Punta Abrejos southward, and Baja California Peninsula's entire east coast is also in a tropical storm warning, and the mainland of Mexico of North Guamas is also in a tropical storm warning. Tropical storm watches are in place for mainland Mexico from Huantabampito to Guamas, and Baja California also has tropical storm watches in place from Ensenada to the California-Mexico border, the California-Mexico border to Point Migu and Cantala Island also in tropical storm warnings. A hurricane watch there stretching all the way from the hurricane warning to tropical storm watch lines along the U.S.-Mexico border. So it's from the U.S.-Mexico border, and that stretches again all the way to Ensenada. So that's what we're looking at this time with watches and warnings. Again, it's a dangerous situation. And please also note, again, well away from the cone, if you are anywhere near the system along the Pacific coast, especially in Mexico, make sure that you're keeping an eye on surf and rip current conditions as they could be life-threatening. All right, let's take a look at now some weather model visualizations of the forecast to kind of show you why the National Hurricane Center is forecasting what they're forecasting. So you'll notice with the track, this looks very similar to the cone. There's very high confidence in where this storm is going to go. It's going to move to the northwest for now, and then it's going to shift nearly due north as it then scrapes the Baja California Peninsula and then hits California ultimately. When it comes to intensity, you'll see the intensity of the storm is expected to plummet pretty quickly. It'll still likely be a major hurricane for the next day or so, maybe a little less, before it does begin to weaken rather quickly. By the time we get 2 days out, the system will likely be a fair bit weaker, probably a hurricane, and then a tropical storm by the time we are 3 days out, as this thing does begin to move inland. But regardless, again, of wind speed, these next few days are going to be rough for the Baja California Peninsula, as well as California itself. Let's now get into the rain that we've been talking about so much throughout this video. Here is a visualization from a weather model on where the highest rain amounts are expected to be. Don't pay attention to the exact amounts from this. This just gives you a good idea of where the highest amounts will be. This model is not very good at actually depicting the highest totals. It's just good at depicting where those highest totals will end up being. So 3 to 6 inches of rain are expected in widespread fashion in the Baja California Peninsula, with localized areas of 10 inches or greater likely. And you'll notice there on the northern side of the peninsula, that's where the highest totals are expected to be. That's where those 10-inch totals could be seen. Catastrophic flooding will also be possible with this system as it moves north. That could be aerial flooding, that could be flash flooding, that could be a variety of different types of floods, but regardless, the impacts could be catastrophic. As we move now into the official forecast for the United States, you'll notice widespread rainfall of 3 to 6 inches, with isolated areas up to 10 inches in California and Nevada are certainly possible. This could again cause catastrophic flooding for these areas. Elsewhere, 1 to 3 inches of rain is expected outside of the major accumulation zone of this storm, which could cause some localized flash flooding, and record-breaking moisture again will make this event exceptional when it comes to the amount of rain for this area. Death Valley getting an absurd amount of rainfall for it. Could be over a year's worth of rainfall. That's something else. All right, let's now take a look at the forecast courtesy of the Weather Prediction Center. This is the first ever high risk from the Weather Prediction Center for the Southern California desert there, but you'll notice there this is to the east of Los Angeles and San Diego, which are both in moderate risks, and that moderate risk is rather widespread. I don't care if you're in a moderate or a high risk here for excessive rainfall, for flash flooding over the next few days, courtesy of the Weather Prediction Center. You need to be taking precautions now to prepare for what's going to be happening here relatively soon as the system does begin to move northward into your general area. You can see what those preparations look like in a video that we made not too long ago. We'll talk more about that soon. All right, here's the official forecast courtesy of the Storm Prediction Center for a severe weather risk associated with this as we do move into Sunday in particular. That's going to be the day when this thing could make landfall, and a strong low-level jet associated with this could mean that this could produce a few isolated tornadoes. That's why we do have a marginal risk, level 1 out of 5, from San Diego all the way to Phoenix to Las Vegas there in the southwestern United States. That is almost exclusively driven by the potential of some tornadoes. These aren't going to be super strong, these aren't going to be super long-lived, but we could have a few isolated tornadoes doing some real damage. All right, let's talk about the video I mentioned earlier. We have a comprehensive guide on hurricane preparation for the Atlantic and Eastern Pacific posted on our YouTube channel. The link will be in the description below of this video as well. Be sure to check that out if you're in these areas and need to prepare for this. And let's take a look at a couple other major headlines going on right now. Briefly, the Atlantic is waking up 4 areas of disturbance, which is remarkable at this time. A 30% chance of development for our yellow denoted system there, a 40% chance of development over the next 7 days for both of our orange systems, and our red system has a 70% chance of development there as well. But those in the Gulf Coast especially need to be watching exceptionally closely, as record-breaking sea surface temperatures could mean that this could develop in a hurry if things go right for it. So if you're in Texas, Louisiana, just make sure you're keeping a close eye on that. And finally, we have quite the heat wave that's coming up. This is going to be a long-lived, extremely dangerous heat wave. Some of the warmest temperatures of the summer are going to be coming in, stretching all the way from the Midwest to the Gulf Coast of the U.S. So make sure that you're prepared for that as well. The key messages are here. Feel free to pause the video to read those. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. We hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, you can hit the like button down below. If you want to chat with us about what's going on weather-wise, you can either leave us a comment down below, or you can join our Discord server to chat with us directly back and forth. And finally, if you like content like this and want to see more of it, stay tuned to Advective Weather, as we're going to make more content regarding this with time, and feel free to subscribe to the channel to tell us we're doing something right. Thanks again for watching. We hope to see you in the next video.